What's good? What's good? What's good, YouTube? This is Stormy B Man, and I'm back this Tuesday evening, September 17th, and this is another edition of Kung Fu Film Focus. And this evening, we have an opportunity to go back to 1979, and the feature subject at hand is a little classic from Jackie Chan's early career called Dragon Fist. Okay? Now, Dragon Fist is a film that got released in 79, but it was made a year and a half prior. After Jackie Chan had the success from Snake and the Eagle's Shadow and Drunken Master, where he went with a different film company and gained overnight stardom, director Lo Wei, who had created his own film studio, which was Lo Wei Motion Pictures, he tried to bring this film back out into the mainstream after shelving it, because he was disappointed in a few features where he had given Jackie a lead role in a couple of productions after signing him to a lucrative deal. Jackie's films didn't fare very well because Lo Wei was trying to use him in a more mature sense, because Jackie was only about 21, 22 at the time. And Lo Wei was trying to use him in roles that were more fitted for more mature leading men like Chen Kwa Tai or Jimmy Wong Yu or even the late Bruce Lee. As a matter of fact, Lo Wei was trying to encourage Jackie as much as he could to imitate Bruce Lee, not necessarily in mannerisms, but acting style and also intensity of fighting in fight scenes. And Jackie was just not capable of doing that and felt very uncomfortable doing that. So his box office tanked with Lo Wei's motion pictures. He had made about 4 films with Lo Wei. But the success of films like Snake and the Eagle's Shadow and Drunken Master featured Jackie for his natural talents, which was his acrobatic ability, his timing, his comedy. Audiences really took to him. Plus, he downplayed his physical prowess on screen. You know, his characters were always beaten up by the other guys, and he had to use ingenuity and his quick-wittedness to outsmart guys and trick guys and things like that. He wasn't the warrior that on-screen fighters like Jimmy Wong Yu or Bruce Lee or the Tai Lung or David Chang. He was the guy who happened to win by happenstance or by mistake. So that's what he was, and that's what he became. But Dragon Fist is a film where Jackie actually performed very well in the mature role. He did try to incorporate some of that seriousness and the intensity from the Bruce Lee era, and he did admirably well, and the film actually did well when it was released after his other successes. But this is what we're going to talk about this evening. And I want to take a moment and acknowledge the chat. Everybody that's out there. We had Sierra F is out there, Clifton Bronson, Gil Coles, and Dark Truth. What's going on with everybody? Glad you stopped by. We're talking about a little Kung Fu this evening. I'm starting to get requests by emails, requests by text messages, and even on the Discord. You know, people are reaching out to me, so it's nice to see that there is a bit of a demand for this type of fare. So I'm not abandoning boxing by any means. It's just another outlet for me to talk about some things that I have a little bit of background on. As I've been known to say, I stay in my lane. I'm not going to talk about a lot of stuff that I don't know about, especially when it comes to boxing. And I don't want to come off as a fool, misrepresenting out there. So I found some other things that I could do, and I have some more surprises for you all as I create some more content for you in the near future. But right now, this is what it is. It's Kung Fu Film Focus, Dragon Fist, 1979. So also, before I go any further, I want to give a shout out to some audience members here who decided to be generous and hit Stormy B Man up in the PayPal, even when I was off air. So I want to acknowledge that. We had a PayPal donation from Eric Jenkins, Toot Robinson, and also Mainstream Beats. I don't know if that's just the PayPal name of the contributor, but thank you all most graciously for your donations to the channel. Much appreciated. And as I said before, I will always try to acknowledge people, even if it's not on air. I'll come back and give that respect. So as we go forward with our film, Dragon Fist is the typical Hong Kong kung fu actioner where the plot revolves around revenge. The setting of the film sees a young kung fu student. His master is celebrating years of being a province champion. And so Jackie, our star, is in a position to watch his master put his feats on display and accept challenges as the various people, come to his celebration. And the master is played by Shu Sha. Shu Sha is a veteran kung fu film actor and stuntman who played throughout films in the industry, whether he just played one of the minions of a big boss, or he played a secondary role, or he played a main villain. This gentleman was an actor who was very adept at fighting on screen and also assisting with choreography for a number of films. He has one of those faces. If you are a fan of kung fu films, you've seen this guy. You've seen him in dozens and dozens of films. And in this film, he's playing in the role of Jackie's teacher. Okay? And there are other stars that you will recognize in the film that kind of fill out the roles and also bring a little bit of life to what we know as this classic. Now, I mentioned that Dragon Fist was made in 1978, but released in 1979 by Lo Wei and his motion picture film company. Lo Wei, many people will remember, is the man who famously directed Bruce Lee's first two Hong Kong films of kung fu nature, because Bruce Lee had a childhood acting career. Many people aren't aware of that, but he made about 20 films as a child actor from the age of 6 years old till he was 18. He had a stellar film career. He was kind of like the Hong Kong equivalent of Mickey Rooney. and he played in tearjerkers. He played in like dramas and a couple of comedies. Nothing fighting because he was a boy. And when he came back to Hong Kong in the early 70s to make kung fu films, they were really questioning, oh, that's the kid from, years ago. He's going to make kung fu now? So it was kind of a weird thing. But Lo Wei was the director of Lee's first two Hong Kong kung fu films. And he was a burly old guy that was very eccentric. He was egotistical and thought that everything revolved around him. Anything that had anything to do with success was because of him. And anything that had failure attached to it was because of you. So that was Lo Wei's take on things. But the plot of this film, Dragon Fist, Jackie's teacher, who's celebrating his championship of the province, he's invaded by a rival adversary in school, and the leader of the school, Yang Xing Wei, you've seen him in dozens of films, and he's pictured here with the mustache and the long hair with the gray, he's gray beard. He's an older guy playing an older Sifu. He challenges Jackie's teacher and says, you can't retire yet, until you take on me. And he goes about brutally beating up Jackie's teacher and destroying the signboard for their school. So he can't celebrate being a champion of the province anymore after being soundly defeated and trounced. And the signboard being broken and shattered is a huge sign of disrespect in Chinese culture. The signboard usually the characters that were written on the signboard to give the name of the school usually was written with a certain flair and elegance that represented the knighthood of the school and the strength and dignity of the school. So to have your signboard torn down and shattered into pieces was a tremendous loss of face. And when this took place, numerous challengers who imposed their will on other schools were shattered. Sometimes they lost their students, and teachers committed suicide based on how tragic the situation and circumstances would turn out. And in this case, Jackie's teacher, he dies from his wounds, and Jackie swears and vows revenge. Now, the teacher's wife and daughter, they accompany Jackie as he sets out after having studied his skills to bring him up to speed to take revenge for his teacher. They set out to find Yan Xing Wei, and they want to exact revenge on him. In the meantime, Yan Xing Wei is celebrating his own victory of being the senior practitioner of the province where he is, but he has a rival. And it's kind of like school against school here, but the rival that he has is with the school of lecherous beings who are basically like lowlifes and bandits. And as he opposes these guys, their students face off against one another often, but no one prevails over the other, but they just have a despisement for one another. Now, when Jackie comes calling on Yan Xing Wei, he finds out that he won't necessarily be able to take revenge for his teacher, because during the midst of his travels, Yan Xing Wei, celebrating his victory over Jackie's teacher, his wife commits suicide because she long ago had a relationship with Jackie's teacher way before Jackie's teacher got married. And Yan Xing Wei was jealous of his spouse's past. That's why he really invaded the school and beat the man to death and shattered his sign and all of that, because he was exacting a little bit of revenge on that, even though that relationship took place way before he met his wife. But his wife, she committed suicide and in despisement of her husband's actions, and hoped that he could, gain some kind of, I don't know, forgiveness or something for what he had done, the evil deed that he had done, because he killed a man maliciously. So when Jackie's mom finds out all of this, and Yen Shin Wei cripples himself by chopping off his own leg out of respect to his own wife, Jackie's senior mistress and wife of his teacher, she forgives Yen Shin Wei, which is all complicated and convoluted plot, because that's not what it's about, right? It's about fighting. It's about kicking ass and everything. So as we get ready to talk about that, know that rival school that Yen Shin Wei opposes, they find out about Jackie coming there for his revenge, and they know that he's a really good fighter. So they decide to test him out. And of course, in Bruce Lee-like fashion, Jackie wipes the floor with these guys. And then they say, hey, what if we get this guy to help us fight Yen Shin Wei? Then we can really put Yen Shin Wei to shame. So they try to offer Jackie all kinds of deals, and he won't go along with them. He knows that they're a bunch of crooks and everything. But before his senior mistress and his sister from the school leave town, the mom is stricken with illness, and he needs medicines to heal his mom. So that rival school, the debaucherous bandits, they decide to offer help to his mom. But they're not really going to help him. They're just using that to get Jackie to help them out. But Jackie, with no other recourse, because he needs the sources to help his mom, his senior mistress's illness, he decides to go and help these guys out. And they have him beating up people, but he doesn't know that they're working their way back to Yen Shin Wei, the man who his senior mistress has forgiven. So he's not supposed to fight him. If the mistress says no, he's supposed to abide by what the mistress says. So all of this convolution leads to a series of fights and fights and fights. Now, what's interesting about the fights in this film is that Jackie was the choreographer for this action. And it's a lot of punch, kick, block, flip type, rapid combination choreography with pretty decent camera angles. And Jackie more than holds his own in the lead role. He's doing a pretty good job in this film, even though it's prior to the two successful films that we talked about earlier, The Snake and the Eagle's Shadow and Drunken Master. The film appears to have been shot either in Taiwan or Korea, because the landscapes and pagodas that drape the background provide a nice setting. But back then, it was very difficult to tell the difference between Taiwan and Korea based on how the buildings were captured, because pagodas look quite similar in those regions. The film also has a number of co-stars in it and action stuntmen who are familiar. There are a number of guys who you see, even if the camera pans across their faces quickly, you could take a shot of them and say, wow, that's so-and-so. He was really young back then. It's a number of guys like that you'll see in this film. Now, Nora Mao, who's the young lady in the film, that is Jackie's sister and senior sister in the school, she's famous for playing in a few Swords films and also a couple of Bruce Lee films. And she was a very, very popular actress with Golden Harvest Studios. And Lo Wei used her in a number of his films when he was with Golden Harvest. So he didn't hesitate to bring Nora on board for this film. He was very partial toward using women in his films that he had used before. Lo Wei was very loyal to the young. He called them his goddaughters, just as he called Jackie his godson. But the Godfather was not necessarily a nice dude. You know, Lo Wei was a very, very crude gentleman, and rumored to have been a leading triad boss in real life in Hong Kong. So he was one that people did not want to cross, double cross him. So if he asked you to be in one of his films, you better do it because he's not really asking, he's telling. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing about Lo. So as I take it to the chat, I'm going to try to read some of you guys' comments here as we've moved along a little bit. We've got Dark Truth in the building. He says, Stormy B-Man, salute. Gil Coles, I shouted you out already. He says, damn, Jackie been making movies since 1962. Yeah, Gil Coles, Jackie has been around a very long time. Tony Boswell is saying, salute. Stormy B-Man, excuse me, I was yawning. And he says, salute at Gil Coles, Dark Truth, and Sierra F. Derek Bailey is like, salute Stormy B-Man. And also at Gil Coles and Dark Truth. And Big Dose 513 is in. He says, Stormy B-Man was good. And Land of the 216 says, salute Storm. Salute to you. And Derek Bailey says, wasn't he in the triads? You're talking about Lo Wei? Yes, Lo Wei was definitely connected, to say it the least. He was connected. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens says, salute my peoples. Salute to you, my brother. Reggie coming on the regular to get some of this Kung Fu film fare. I'm proud of you, my brother, that you ventured out and, crossed over to this little media, that I've introduced out here. It makes me feel nice, man. Makes me feel real nice. Derek Bailey says, you beat me to it, Stormy. Yeah. Talking about Lo Wei. And he's saying salute to Reggie. And Gil Coles is also saying, Derek Bailey, salute, homie. So, yeah, this film, Dragon Fist, man, it's one of those roles, like, if you watch it and you see Jackie, it's not the Jackie that you've come to know. It's not the Jackie that you know him for being, the guy that's kind of mugging at the camera and, goofing around a little bit and, guys kick his behind and he has to go and train and come back and trick people or whatever. No, he's playing a straight man in this film. And he did pretty good. It's one of those films that if you didn't know the guys, you could say, oh, this is decent. This is decent. But because it's Jackie, it's like it does seem a little bit like a fish out of water. There's just something a little bit different about his performance in this film. And that's why it's a classic, because he didn't really know what he was doing back then. By the time he had done films like The Young Master and Police Story and Project A, he kind of knew what he was doing. He had a huge grip on where he wanted to go with his career. But when he was still under Lo Wei's umbrella, he was learning. And he was just basically taking everything in and trying to do like they were asking of him. And he was more than capable. Jackie as a stuntman was probably the best stuntman in Hong Kong during his younger years, because he was a fearless guy and he would basically literally jump through a burning wall for his directors and his action choreographers. That was something that he did with no shame. You know, Jackie was that kind of guy. So that's what he was noted for, and people really respected that of him. And he could get guys to work with him because he took care of his co-workers and his troupe. They called it his stunt team. That's basically what they called it, the guys that worked with him in the films. King Louis is out there. He says, salute Stormy. And Derek Bailey is saying, salute at King Louis. What's good with you, King Louis? I noticed that you've been stopping by, too, for some of these kung fu joints, man. Am I starting to get your ear a little bit with that, King Louis? Are you starting to get a little interest in them? Or are you just showing support? Either way, I love you for it, brother. But I hope you're getting the interest in, because if you check out some of these films that I'm reviewing on those recommendations, I guarantee that you're going to enjoy yourself. So, you know, don't be afraid to stick your toe in that pool, man. You know, it don't cost nothing. Just go on in there and enjoy some kung fu, you know. But yeah, this film, Dragon Fist, also has another veteran star in it, James Tien. Now, James Tien, he's been in a few of the other films that I've talked about, and also known for a couple of Bruce Lee films, Game of Death, Fist of Fury, and The Big Boss. He was a guy that was originally contracted by Golden Harvest to be one of their leading men, but when Bruce came on the scene, he kind of got elbowed and regulated to second-hand player. And then later, as he put on a little weight in the industry, he became like a villain. And in this film, it's like one of those transition films for him where he's kind of playing a guy who's caught between. He's like a villainous guy, but not 100% a villain, but a guy you just don't like. You still want to punch him in the face. And that's what he's doing in this film, James Tien. Also been in a few Nora Mao flicks, and also with Angela Mao. So, as we go through with this, I had something else I wanted to share. A couple of clips that I just put in, because sometimes the action can speak for the film if you're able to show people, you know, if you're able to show them. So I brought a couple of clips here. You get a chance to see, you know. Now, the young lady that's in the scene there that's punching Jackie, that's Pearl Lynn. She was very active in the industry during the late 70s. And she played in films like this. She was a capable fighter, but she didn't become one of the main female warriors in the industry, probably due to there being only a few, and the directors and choreographers wanted to feature only those ladies primarily. But even in this intense clip here where you see her going to work on Jackie, she's doing it with like intensity, fierceness. Her strikes look like they have some strength to them and power behind them. And she was a person in this film. She played the Yin Shin Wei's daughter. And she was capable. She was a capable actress. Yeah, so King Louis says, chilling, man. Yeah, both. So he's saying, yeah, both to you're giving support and you're starting to get a little bit of an interest in these. That's good, man, because I got some great stuff coming, man. I'm starting off slow for you guys because this genre has so much to offer that there are benchmark films that are easy to talk about. I could jump right into the Five Venoms or Enter the Dragon or something like that. But I thought I'd bring the audience along with some of the other fare that was kind of like on the outskirts of stuff like that, because there still were good films being made. But it's nice to know that everything wasn't always a home run. Everything wasn't always, there was some excuse me, there was some base hits, foul balls, fly balls, and then there was some doubles, singles, and triples and grand slams. So I try to present it that way because there is so much to cover. There is a tremendous amount to cover with the industry, a tremendous amount. So just know that, I'm trying to think about, there was something else I wanted to say about this film. Oh, Yen Shin Wei's character, he cuts his leg off after his wife committed suicide. So in the third act of the film, they have to take on the baddies. And, he's got this great fight scene where he's fighting with like a crutch, and he's on one leg. So the scene is well choreographed, and you could see him, like he's standing on one leg, but you can't tell that the other leg, I don't know how they did it, but he's on one leg, and the leg that he cut off was cut off like from the knee down. So I don't know how they did it, if they taped it all the way back on his thigh and just made it look like his thigh was big in the baggy pants or what. But the guy was like amazing on one leg. He was amazing. One leg and a crutch. And it's a great fight scene. And Jackie is throwing down very well in there. Nora Mao was supposed to be a senior fighting student from the school in the film. But she didn't really fight very much in the film. She kind of just stood in the backdrop and, looked pretty, which is what she did a lot in her films. And it was okay because Nora Mao to this day has a huge fan base and audience. On Facebook, they blow her up big time, and she still looks nice. I mean, like, Nora Mao's got to be in their late 60s, right? But the lady still looks very pretty. Gil Cole says King Louis before Stormy B-Man was born. Yeah, talking about how long Jackie been making movies. Yeah, man, Jackie's been around a long time. I have a film with Jackie, and it's called, what is that film called? It's called Karate something. Well, anyway, Jackie in that movie is about 13 years old. 13 with he's got this little buzz cut, and he's so skinny, he's a little boy. He's a little preteen kid in the film. I was like, man. And one of the guys that's the leading role in the film is usually playing a bad guy on Shaw Brothers films, but he's playing the hero in this film. So that film had to be made like in 1969 or something like that. No, not 1969, because Jackie was still in his upper teens. Probably 67, maybe 68. But yeah. And Jackie came up through the same opera teaching like Angela Mao. So all of those people really knew each other. They were very close. And Samo was the senior big brother from the school. And Samo, for a pudgy guy, man, he was so acrobatic and athletic, it was incredible. Samo was a really interesting person, man. Very interesting. So, yeah. you know. So, you guys, I'm trying to present these films to you because in a manner of which, they, how should I say this? It's easy to give you the blood and guts films, but you have to know why those blood and gut films became the benchmark films that they were. So that's all. Just trying to fortify the list with some of these other productions and how they stood out. You know. So that's all I'm trying to do with that. But if anybody has any questions in the chat, please feel free to ask me. You could ask me some questions about this film, and I can answer them. I know, like when I did the Lady Whirlwind show, Hyphy came in late, and he was like, "Man, how you gonna have a Lady Whirlwind show with Angela Mao and don't invite me?" And I was like, "Man, I put the reminder out there, and I be trying to call Hyphy, and he don't answer and stuff." So I'm like, you know what? If somebody want to talk about the film with me, just throw those questions out there, and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you if I have the answers, of course. And if I don't have the answers, I could get the answers for you. So, that's how I do it. I didn't realize how when you get to talking on these podcasts, how dry your mouth get, and you feel like you need a drink while you know. That's why I see Fanon sometimes he keep his drink, his beverage, and so does Black Fight Fan. So, it makes a lot of sense to keep your beverage nearby while you're doing these shows. And you're talking a lot. So, how old is Jackie Chan? Man, shoot. Jackie has to be 50. No. Jackie is probably 60 something now. Yeah, because he ain't in his 50s. Jackie has got to be like, well, he's born in 1954. So, yeah. Jackie is in his 60s, bro. So, there you go. And if you think that's him doing all his stunts today, it ain't. That's a lie. That boy using more stuntmen than he used to be a stuntman back in the day. And it's okay, because he's earned that. Jackie has done some amazing stunts over the years, though. I mean, I just can't believe some of the stuff that he's done death-defyingly and survived. He had a couple of close calls. But boy, what a stuntman. Every bit as good Bruce Lee was as a kung fu film star actor, Jackie was that as a stuntman and more. He was that good. He was that good. Jackie was an amazing performer, man. And you know what's funny about these guys in the industry is that each of them had their own niche. There was always something that somebody did extremely well. Some guys were good fighters. Some guys were great choreographers. Some guys were even the ones who could perform the choreography, but they weren't necessarily good martial artists. Go figure. It's really weird how that was, but it all made for an exciting industry. It all made for exciting times on the film sets. So that's something to be said. But Yeah, Dragon Fist was one of those films that Jackie performed very well, doing some things that were challenging for him because it was difficult for him as a to try to be a leading guy, you know, and he carried the film well. He really did. His performance is respected in this film. Yeah. So, and if for any of you that's wondering, like with this poster art that I put out there, um, these are like the original theatrical posters for the film, and I like to provide those because they were true to what the stories were and everything. Sometimes the American posters for these films, they'd have pictures of Bruce Lee on the. Bruce Lee wasn't even in the movie. Bruce Lee was. It's like, but they would always stick Bruce Lee's name in the title or something. It was crazy, you know. And many years after he was dead and gone, they would still do that. Hmm. So, but yeah, you guys have been very good this evening with sticking with me. With the audience has been kind of small, but it says I've got 7 viewers right now, 13 likes, so that's nice. That's really nice that I had a few handful come through and show a little support for this because it's tough with kung fu. You know, it takes a special person, not special, but it takes a certain type of person who could sit through this because it's just like for horror films, slashers and stuff, Michael Myers. There's an audience for that, not me, but there are people who like that, and they could sit up and talk about those movies and watch those movies all the time. But us kung fu film fans, we like our fare. These films were like the superhero movies before we had superhero films. In actuality, guys flying through the air, jumping 30 feet off the ground, fighting with all these damn swords in their bodies and stuff. It was just like taking on one man, taking on an army of 40 guys or something. You know, that was what kung fu films were. Yeah, Derek Bailey says Jackie has broke damn near every bone in his body. Very true, including a hole in the side in his skull that's the size of a. I think they said it's the size of a quarter or something like that, where he fell on his head when he was making the film Armor of God. He was supposed to jump from a rocky cliff to a tree branch, and during rehearsals it worked. He jumped several times. Then when they shot for the movie, and he jumped and he grabbed a tree branch and it broke and he fell 40 feet and landed on his head. And he has they had to put a steel plate there where he cracked his skull and it almost pierced his brain. But he lived, and he's still giving us that work. Jackie was a hell of a guy, man. A hell of a guy. Derek Bailey says, yeah, Beardy didn't really know Kung Fu. Yeah, one of the guys that I can't wait to get to, man. But he was primarily a Shaw guy. He did some of his best work outside of Shaw, but he started off with Shaw. I cannot wait to get to Beardy. Man, what an incredible performer from the Hong Kong film industry, man. All that athleticism, and the man didn't even know martial arts. Who could say that? Who could say that? Amazing. But see, that's the kind of thing when you find out this is really true, that really happened or that didn't happen. It's like, wow, it's mind-boggling when you see some of the athletic feats of these guys. You know, this what it is. So, but yeah, you know, Dragon Fist was a pretty decent kung fu film, a basher from 1979, and there are a number of fighters in this film that you recognize. And as the film gets older and older, and you look back on it, you can have a greater appreciation for Jackie Chan and what he was able to do, you know. So, hey, man, it is what it is, you know. But, yeah, you brothers and sisters, this is about it for this one here, because this film, I don't have very much else to offer on it unless you guys have some more questions. But I'm going to go ahead and get ready to shut this one down and close it out. And I want to thank everybody who was out there joining me for this episode. It was a hell of an episode, because we have people who are loyal, and I appreciate the loyalty. You know, it's something that I try to give myself. I try to go out and give the support. Even if I can't hang around a long time, I'll go out and support you guys as well. So for those who have done that for me, I really appreciate you, brothers and sisters, who do that. So, but I want to say, hold on, there's a question there that Gil Cole says Bruce versus Jackie. What do you mean, against them fighting each other? Bruce was a real street fighter, martial artist. Jackie was a guy who had learned skills from an opera troupe. So in a real fight, I would give Bruce the edge, because he knew fighting more. Jackie knew performing more. He could probably perform in a manner that Bruce could never, but Bruce could fight in a manner that Jackie could never. So it's like, you know, there was a trade-off in abilities and talent there. So that's the way I see that, you know. But hey, you know, I'm thank God for both of them. They have been tremendous contributors to this genre, and without them, I don't think the genre would have been as strong, because with the creativity that they both brought, they were able to do things that set the industry apart, that gave it something that wasn't there before they came along. So that, brothers and sisters, is going to wrap this one up. And before I go, I just want to say the next show that I'm going to do is going to be The Secret Rivals. I know I had some brothers out there asking about that film, Secret Rivals, and I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. The Secret Rivals. That's what's going to be Stormy B Man's next review. Okay? So, and I will put a reminder out before I do the show, so I just won't pop up with it, and give you guys a chance to go and study it, watch it for yourself, come back with some tidbits, your own, you know, thoughts about the movie, where you could write it in the chat. The Secret Rivals. So that's what we're going to talk about the next time. And that's your homework assignment. If you don't do your homework assignment, we'll put your ass on timeout, put you in the corner, face the wall. You're probably going to have to write something like Kung Fu 2,000 times on a tablet in Chinese. Huh? Yeah, that's for not coming. Having you studied up on your movies. So, Gil Cole says, years ago, I got in a debate on the Bruce Lee versus Floyd Mayweather in a boxing match. My homie said Bruce would win. Your thoughts on Stormy B, man? Gil Coles, I ain't even gonna answer that. You get out of here, go braid Keith Thurman hair. His ends is split. And polish his flute. You take that one either way. Anyway, asking me some question like that. Get the hell out of my gym. Shout out to Marlo's Corner. But you guys have been great this evening. Thank you for joining Stormy B, man. This has been another episode of Kung Fu Film Focus. And we gonna be out of here until the next time with Secret Rivals. Peace.
handful. But there are people who like that. And